This is Just in Case of American Newscape, joining our friend and lifestyle luminary, Joyce Rockwood. Joyce joins us to share some insights on food combining and why it's necessary. Greetings, Joyce. Welcome back to American Newscape.
Oh, hello. Good to see you again.
Good to
Thank
see
you for this opportunity.
We love having you here, Joyce. Okay, Joyce, let's get after this thing.
Joyce. So, I really oh, go ahead. You'd think it was my first day on the job.
No. We don't charge extra for talking over each other, so it's something the audience gets to enjoy. Okay, now we're going to try this. Joyce, we discuss the importance of vegetable juicing and enhancing our nutrition by eliminating some of or all of the dairy and eating more plant-based meals. So today, we're here to talk about proper food combining and why it's necessary. So, Joyce.
Is that my cue?
Okay.
And begin, like you've done this before. I'm good. All right, so. Hi, Jinx. Are you still talking?
No, I'm waiting.
All right. It's my turn. All right. Well, thank you for this opportunity to speak on this topic. I'm super passionate about this. I've seen this make such a huge difference in my own life. It's really what I attribute all of my health and vitality to, my clients' lives, and it can potentially make a huge difference in the lives of those who care to listen in today and maybe experiment with some of the suggestions that I'm going to make. So, proper food combining. Let's just start off with a base definition for those that might be new to us. It's a system for eating our foods in optimal pairings so that you can maximize your digestion by reducing gas and bloating, two of the most common things that really annoy people when they're having digestive issues, and enhance your overall detoxification and your vitality, right? So when you elevate your digestion, the time of food, right? When you elevate the digestion time of your food, you're also assuring efficient bowel function and flow. We all love good bowel flow, right? And really reducing the accumulation of waste in your tissue, okay, in your body. People are sometimes asking, what is the tissue? Well, it's the stuff that makes up us, that keeps our bones from falling out of, onto the floor. That's our tissue. And so what I'm going to do today is talk about what happens in the body if you're not food combining, food combinations to avoid, and then share some easy tips for a framework so you can follow this, right, and get started on food combining today, right now. I receive so many messages and questions from people who want to know what to do for a variety of health issues. The most common ones that people come to me for are energy. And I actually say energy before even digestion, because I can't tell you how many people, even this week, I had about 45 people want to enter into my new private Facebook group. And energy was the most common request. How do I have more energy? So energy, digestion, and sleep. Okay, those are the three top things that I support people with. However, it doesn't mean that I can't support you with some other ones. I'm going to list them out as well because they are also things that people mention. So we have unhealthy food cravings. People are always like, right? Well, if you're not eating well, then certainly you're going to have low energy. And reflux, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea. Fun stuff. Sounds like a nice lineup, right? People want to know what they can do to have a flatter tummy. Lower cholesterol is another one. I don't get that one a lot, but I get it often enough to mention. Lose weight, strengthen their immune system, have more radiant skin. Who would like to have more radiant skin? And get rid of the brain fog. Who here would love to have more mental acuity? You can comment down below if that's you. We'd love to have your engagement. How about
me.
Get out your peppermint oil. Yeah. I'm diffusing my adaptive behind me, which is our calming blend, which is wonderful for those who want to have more focus, more mental acuity, do better on test scores for the kiddos, and maybe some of us who are going back to school. Better mental health, reducing some of the emotional issues and stresses and also anxiety in the body. How about lowering blood pressure? Anyone here want to lower their blood pressure? How about anyone having arthritic conditions, right? That's when your joints get too stiff and you can't really raise your hand in school, or if you're going back to school, or if you are just trying to be more mobile and be more flexible. Okay, so the first question I ask when I hear these issues is, are you implementing proper food combining? Most of the work that I do is rooted in the teachings of Professor Arnold Ehret. We've spoken about him before. Dr. Norman Walker is the second luminary. So Professor Arnold Ehret, if you're writing notes, E-H-R-E-T, and Dr. Norman Walker, W-A-L-K-E-R. So you can check out any of their books if you'd like. I would certainly encourage that. They are two of the most influential teachers that I had outside, the deceased ones. They were the deceased teachers I had. The most influential teachers I had that were living were some of the others, Gil Jacobs, my colon hydrotherapist, being one of them. Okay, now, the reason I ask this question is because food combining will begin to radically and immediately begin to address all of these health issues. And I do not say this lightly. I'm slowing down my words. Food combining will radically begin to address some if not all of these health issues. Now, granted, it's a two-step process. So this is going to be step one of the two-step process, but we got to start somewhere, right? So the two-step process I've talked about before, just to kind of, give you that framework also, is that healing is the loosening up of waste first with proper nutrition, proper food combining. And then two, the second part of that process is making sure that that waste that has been loosened up, shaken from the cells, is also alleviated from the body, from the tissue, okay? So let's talk about what's happening if you're not food combining. What happens? And I hope you guys can hear me. I just realized my mic is a little bit far away, so I'm going to bring this in a little tighter. All right, so first, and you can take some notes if you like. First, you're mixing foods together that are not marrying favorably in the stomach. So if you're not food combining, you're mixing foods together that are not marrying favorably in the stomach. Now, keep in mind, your stomach is not the entire cavity of your midsection. Your stomach is that very first organ of digestion that is about the size of a fist, okay? And it's underneath your left rib cage. So when this happens, when you marry these unfavorable combinations, the result is the formation of carbonic gas. Carbonic gas slows down. It causes a slowing down of the transit time of your food and the slowing down of your bowels. Those are two key factors and results from not properly combining your foods, combining your finds.
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds like a good game. It's a roadblock, okay? Gas is a roadblock for efficient elimination. Ask me how many colonics I've administered and watched an outpouring of waste that would blow your mind, by the way, after someone has passed some gas. And sometimes even a large accumulation of gas. Sometimes it's a small bubble of gas. And then all of a sudden this rush of waste leaves the body and the client's like, what is going on down there? And I am saying, yeah, Montezuma's revenge is leaving your body. It's pretty amazing. So when you slow down the digestive process, you begin to experience a backup of waste in the pathways of elimination. It's the opposite of what I just shared about the gas moving out and then the waste eliminating. When the gas is locked in the tissue, the waste is behind it. It's like a roadblock. It can't get through. That's why we also get pains in the body, headaches, migraines, and things like that, pimples popping, because there's just all this waste backing up in the tissue. So this is a problem. This is a problem because the waste will begin to accumulate, and this is the beginning of weight gain, W-E-I-G-H-T. And in my world, that's also the accumulation of waste, W-A-S-T-E, gain. Now that can also mean waist gain. Like your waist is like gaining some encumbrance, right? And illness and disease in the body. So it's a must. It's an absolute must to reduce the gas and keep the bowels flowing. That's the lesson there. Must release and lower the gas. And we do that by making sure these foods are properly combined, and we'll get into that. So the carbonic gas also creates fermentation, not the good kind that we want to happen when we're making our naturally fermented foods from cabbage and such. But the carbonic acid creates a fermentation, which is very much the onset of lethargy and brain fog. So when clients are coming to me and saying, I'm really low on energy, how do I have more energy? How do I get that wow factor? We have to start food combining because it's going to start reducing all of the encumbrance of the bubbles, the gas, the stuff that's blocking. Now, it might not seem like a big deal in the beginning about this gas thing. I'll grant that. You might be listening and be like, what's the big deal about some gas? Well, it's hard to get out of the body, first of all, the more that gets in there. Okay. The more that accumulates, the more discomfort you experience, and the harder it is to kind of dig yourself out of the ditch. It's kind of like gaining weight. It's the same thing. It's like, well, if you only gain 5 pounds, it's easy to get that off. But if you gain 20, it's like, okay, now it really requires some work. So, the big deal is that the accumulation of waste over time is really just that. It's accumulation. The more waste that collects in the body, the more serious the health issue that one will experience. Okay. Or the more serious the health issue is that one will experience. So let's talk about this accumulation. All right. So in the presence of accumulation, we can also call that inflammation. That's a very common term now that people use when they're talking about disease in the body. Dis-ease, right? The lack of ease and flow. The cells cannot properly regenerate when we have inflammation, right? They're being blocked. They're being stifled. They're being suffocated. And when the cells cannot properly regenerate, what this allows for is cancer cells to rapidly begin to proliferate. That is not what we want. Definitely not. I don't know anyone who wants that. This may sound like a big jump, okay, to make, but the truth of the matter is that cancer typically takes years to rear its ugly head. It's not something that happens overnight. So we want to do whatever we possibly can now. Right now, guys, before any of these cells have had massive time to do its, these cancer cells have had time to do their nastiness and create an acidic environment that is way too big for us to try and clean up before the rapid growing cancer cells take over. All right. It's like a foot race when we find out that there's been a diagnosis. It's like, okay, how fast can we cleanse the body so that we can get rid of this toxicity and slow down the growth of these tumors and these cancer cells? All right. So we really want to start addressing this right now. Now, when you look at the health issues that we experience you typically see them as maybe not so serious, right? So if you're watching this because maybe you're in your early 20s, you're in your early 30s, maybe you're even in your 40s, please pay attention to this. I'm really serious. I work with a lot of people now who are in their 50s and 60s and even in their 70s. And I'll tell you, one of their biggest regrets is not paying attention to their health sooner. A lot of times people take good health for granted if they don't think that, what they have going on is life-threatening. They don't really pay attention to it. The sooner you get started, the better you will, be off. You'll have so much less work to do later on. I'm very grateful, super grateful that I made such an early connection in my early years, in my teen years, between what I ate and how I felt. And not just physically, but also emotionally. And we've talked about how watching my father struggle with severe anxiety and manic depression helped me to see the connection between a very highly processed diet and his mental illness because of how I was feeling when I ate very highly processed foods versus how I felt when I ate cleaner, more plant-based foods. But I digress. Okay, so when you look at the health issues that we experience in our youth, you typically see them as not so serious, right? We think about that. Fever when we've got like toddlers, sore throats, ear infections, common colds, rashes, dandruff. Someone recently calling me about their child having dandruff. And they're almost 20 and they started this in their earlier years, in their preteens, I think. Carrying some extra weight and even acne. Those things are not going to kill you, right? But they're the beginning of the slowing down of the body taking care of itself in terms of its elimination. So very important to pay attention to this. Now, as we get older, this is a concept I really want you to grip onto. The health issues become more serious because the things that were creating the acne and the dandruff, which is a lymphatic system issue, by the way, the fevers, the body trying to burn off poisons, the sore throats and the infections, the common colds and all of those things that are locked in the tissue become more burdensome and the accumulation grows, the inflammation increases. And so those health issues become more serious. We start seeing things like anemia, fatigue, brain fog, migraines, and chronic pain. How about autoimmune disease? So many people diagnosed with autoimmune disease, IBS, Crohn's, insomnia, can't sleep, means you can't wake up with good energy. PMS, infertility, erectile dysfunction. I mean, how many people want to have great sex lives into their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and bless us to live to 100? How about sterility? How about high cholesterol, blood pressure? These are all things that people come to me with. And it's funny, sometimes people will give me a list of their health issues and be like, I know this sounds like a mess, but it's really not that bad. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? You're living with all of these things. This is not a high quality of life, and you deserve to be living one. So last couple things I'll mention, we've got anxiety, depression, tumors, arthritis, Alzheimer's, and even dementia. I know people suffering with all of these things. These are all preventable with food combining and a more plant-rich diet. Okay. Now we've laid the groundwork.
Okay.
Should I take a pause? Take a breather?
Well, one thing before you go, you told us earlier that we grew up and our grandparents said.
By the way, I'm not going anywhere. I still got more information to share.
I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, don't log off just because I'm talking. But our grandparents told us we needed to chew our food, and you've explained to us the importance of activating the saliva and bringing the food in contact with saliva before it enters our stomach. Or did I dream that?
You did not dream that, and it's super funny that you mentioned that because I reached out to my mentor Gil today, and I was like, what was the name of that study that guy did with chewing a sandwich? There was like a sandwich experiment. He told us about this a long time ago, and it had to do with people who didn't chew their food versus people who chewed their food well, and how long the sandwich stayed in the stomach of the people who didn't chew well versus the people who did. Like the transit time was 6 to 8 hours versus like something crazy like 30 something hours. Anyway, Fletcher is the guy, and his name is Horace Fletcher, and he's known as the Great Masticator. Rhymes with another word that I think you probably thought I said, but I didn't.
No. His mother must be proud.
He was like, Fletcherizing was the juicing of the 1890s. Fletcherizing, meaning like really chewing your food till it turns to like muck before you swallow.
But Dr. Kellogg came out with that too.
Yes.
Yeah, before 1890. So, okay, back to you, Joyce.
All right. So now what I want to do, now that you have the groundwork for why, what is food combining? What does it cause? What are the problems? Now I want to talk about the foods that are the most problematic to combine. Now don't freak out. All right. Because when I first got into this, I was like, wait a minute. Are you serious? That's like everything I eat. And he was like, yeah, kid. And that's why you have all these problems. I was like, oh, got it. Let's fix that. So the first one I want to share with you is protein and refined carbohydrates. Okay. So that would be especially sugars, especially like heated. Okay. So that would be like hamburger on a bun, chicken with rice. And now you're going like, oh, Joyce, what am I supposed to do? Stop eating? No. Just chill out. I got you. I'm going to show you how easy this is to fix. So refined carbohydrates, rices, breads, pastas, right? Okay. And even if they're not refined, but they're a carbohydrate like potatoes, that mixing with something like, fish or chicken is definitely a poor combo. Second one, fats and refined carbohydrates. Okay. I'm going to go into some definitions or examples of that in a moment. So when you combine these foods, you create something called AGEs. Okay. We can put this in the show notes. Advanced glycation, GLYCATION, end products. Advanced glycation end products, AGEs. Okay. AGEs. Kind of like your juicies. I got this information from the American Heart Association journal, so it's pretty sciencey. Advanced glycation end products are proteins or lipids that become glycated after exposure to sugars. They are prevalent in the diabetic vasculature and contribute to the development of atherosclerosis. Who wants that? Nobody here. The presence and accumulation of AGEs in many different cell types affect extracellular and intracellular structure and function. AGEs contribute to a variety of microvascular and macrovascular complications. We're going to talk about what that looks like in a second, so buckle up. All right, so here, some examples of this as an occurring problem because it creates congestion or a plugging up of the vessels. That's where we're talking there about the microvascular, the masculovascular complications, a plugging up in the vessels in your body, thus hampering proper circulation. Anyone out there have cold hands and feet? Numbness? It's all connected, okay? So when you're not food combining, you're creating this extra pressure and gas in the system, and it's getting in the way of blood flow, circulation, bowel movements, all the things. Hampering circulation. So also, right, like an altering of your brain chemistry. This is also very true. That stops the proper neurons from communicating with one another in situations like Alzheimer's, poor memory, short-term memory loss, long-term memory loss, Parkinson's disease. This is a neurological issue, nervous system, macular degeneration, eyeballs. And it's also in the beta cells of the pancreas that's connected to, would you like to fill in the blank? Diabetes. So here's an example of protein and refined carbohydrates. Let's take a quick look. This was one of my favorites as a kid, by the way, fried chicken. Oh, I know. And I like the extra crispy stuff. Oh my God. So they're taking the chicken protein, they're dipping it in this big old, gluttonous carbohydrate-ridden batter, and then they're adding that to really high heated oils. All right. So that's really a very major poor combination in the body. It just creates a really like a downset of cellular activity, a downslide of a cellular activity. Another one, fats and refined sugars. Okay, so that would be like ice cream, right? That's like, plus you got like the fat of the ice cream, the protein, the dairy, and then the sugar. Oh, that's really troublesome, especially on the adrenal glands, all right? So those are the glands on the tops of your kidneys that help you with fight or flight. That's why a lot of people who eat really refined processed sugars, are addicted to sugars, have a low tolerance for handling stress, right? They get very moody very quickly. They fly off the handle very quickly. All right, so these things increase the complication and the onset of disease in the body. That is it in a nut. Now let's talk also about why. Like why is this happening? Why is the combination of some of your favorite foods? I know, I'm sorry. So why is the combination of some of your favorite foods why are they the biggest contributors to oxidative stress in the body? And what is oxidation, for heaven's sakes? Well, I want you to think of this kind of like the rusting of a nail, but it's the rusting of the tissue in your arteries, in your eyes, in your kidneys, right? Everything's kind of getting stiff, right? This is the factor that makes people age really fast. And that's one of the reasons why I say my big promise when we work together is not only will you feel like, but you will look like you are aging in reverse, because we get all of the accumulation and inflammation moving out of your body so that those new cells can regenerate. June 11th, I'm going to be 51. I'm supposed to tout this, so I'm touting it. And, I really believe that it's not genes, because trust me, if I was not living the way I'm living for the past 25 years or so, I would look very differently, because I could show you my before pictures. And if you want to see them, follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, and I'll make sure you get them. All right. Or if you're not on social, just email me, detox@Joyce Rockwood, and I'll send you the before and after, and you can see for yourself. All right, so this is the factor that makes people age really fast, because those AGEs, advanced glycation end products, make the proteins in our body get really stagnant, like bears, okay? Gummy and stiff. That's those like joints that won't move. The back that like you can't bend to put your socks and shoes on in the morning. That's arthritis right there, okay? It's along with like massive amounts of uric acid buildup in the body from excessive protein consumption. All right, so now you've got a sense of oxidation. Now what I want to talk about is what do we do? What do we do to avoid and counter this response in the body? So, now we have the results, the resolve. I got you. So we have something called the pH factor, okay? The potential of hydrogen, to get a little bit more sciencey. Do I look this smart? Certain foods need certain enzymes.
Absolutely.
Certain foods need certain enzymes and a specific pH environment for proper digestion, okay? And some need an acidic environment and others need a more alkaline environment. So let's talk about the speeds of foods for a quick sec. Some foods require very little time to digest, like our melons and our fruits. And, salads, our big salads. And you want to eat those on an empty stomach, okay? Ideally, your fruits, we're talking here, fruits, you want to eat on an empty stomach. Ideally, for most people who eat 2 or 3 meals a day, the best time for you would be to eat your fruit por la mañana, in the morning, Okay, I don't know why I said that in Spanish. You're following my ideal roadmap. Fruit is a morning meal. Okay, fruit is a morning meal, and it's typically eaten alone. Couple of exceptions. We're not going to go into the details right now. Other food groups require a little bit longer to break down. So, for example, here's the most common food combinations I support my clients with that you can start to explore. All right. By the way, just to echo, what are the other food groups that take longer to digest? Well, fruit is just an hour. Salads with oil are about 2 hours. Cooked veggies, probably about 3 hours. Starchy carbohydrates, we're looking at maybe 4 hours. Proteins, maybe 6 hours or more. Okay. So I'm going to give you right now the most common food combinations, favorable ones, of course, that I support my clients with that you can start to experiment with. How cool would it be for you to actually try some of these tips and suggestions and have a voila moment? Oh my God, this is really working and I feel better and I pooped today.
I pooped today.
Poop today. Little boxers hashtag, I pooped today. Okay, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates would be your rices, breads, sweet potato, red bliss potatoes. Those kinds of starchy foods require a very alkaline environment or an alkaline environment, and they combine really well with vegetables and with fats. A fat would be like an avocado, okay? Proteins. Proteins are going to be things like your meats, your tofu, your tempeh, if you're eating that stuff. Beans, okay? Those require more of an acidic environment and they digest a lot slower and they don't combine well with those starches that I just mentioned, the rices, etc. Okay? But they are a very favorable combination with the non-starchy vegetables. So you could easily put those together with green beans and broccoli and one of your favorites, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and things of that nature. Fats, okay? They pair well, really well with vegetables and with starches, but not well with proteins, okay? So what would that look like? Like avocado toast. The avocado is the fat, the toast is the carbohydrate. And so with salads, avocados with salads and avocados with cooked vegetables and things like rice and bread and quinoa and millet, okay? I hope I'm not talking too fast or taking good notes, but don't worry. If I'm talking too fast, this is what you get when you bring on a New Yorker. Don't worry. I'm gonna give you something at the end here that will help make this all really simple. So stay tuned. Now, in closing on those combinations, the leafy greens work really well with non-starchy vegetables. Okay, so that would be if you wanted to have a casserole of some kind with yams and sweet potatoes and kabocha squash and mix it with a bunch of spinach and kale and broccoli and things like that. That would work really well. All right, let's talk for a quick second about sugar, because a lot of people call me and tell me, Joyce, I got some sugar stuff going on. What do I do? Well, it's a problem. Sugar is a problem when you combine it with anything. So be careful of that. Even mixing blueberries with other stuff, your yogurt, unless it's a coconut yogurt, that will probably work. The best way, and people laugh at me when I tell them this, but this is really the truth. The best way to eat highly processed sugary foods is at the end of the day, number one. And after something like a neutral bowl of greens, like a bunch of romaine lettuce leaves, and then just eat the dessert, okay? Versus eating the entree and then following with the dessert on top of that, because it's like taking a match and lighting it to a tank of gasoline. I don't know how many people have tubs of gasoline. Okay, so that's really what I want to share with you today about food combining. I would love for you to try it. Let me know what your experience is. There's room for you down below in the comments to ask questions so I can support you best. Maybe you're already doing this and you're a proponent. So maybe you want to share in the comments below to support other people. And, what's the worst that could happen? You're not going to feel worse. You're only going to feel better. And then you can start to develop healthier habits.
A couple things.
Sorry, my nose is really itchy today. I don't know why.
Improper food combining causes an itchy nose.
Is there an old wives' tale about the tip of your nose?
Yeah, probably.
Being itchy, itchy palms are coming into money.
Okay. Things that we should probably expound upon. People, you may be having gas and not recognize it. When I recognize it myself when I have gas problems, it's not that I'm belching and farting or having regurgitation, but I'll actually get a very noticeable pain between my lower shoulder blades. And inevitably, it's always gas.
Mm-hmm.
And gas can also restrict, enough gas can restrict your bowels, enough gas can restrict your bladder. These are things to be cognizant of because those can lead to serious health issues as well.
Gases can cause heart attack. I mean, blood gases, they measure them in the hospital. Look, I tell the story of that one client I had years ago. A British gentleman came in and he had a colonic, and only thing that came out of him were bubbles. And he got off the table thinking it was the greatest invention since the napkin. He had all his lower back pain was gone. Mm. So, when you have things that are encumbering the body, it just presses. It presses on the meridians, it presses on the organs. And so that's why you sometimes get pain in what seems like a weird space, like in the shoulder blades.
Yeah, lower shoulder. Yeah, lower shoulder blades.
It's like we have these lines in the body, these meridian lines, and so they're like harp strings. The pressure on something in one place can cause pain in another place.
And I cheat and I take a simethicone. But and the other thing, if you get a chance to get into massage therapy, lay on the table of a real massage therapist, it is not uncommon for you to start passing gas because what that proper massage therapist is doing is driving the gas out of those tissues and the toxins.
That happened with that same British gentleman who had the passing of the gas on the colonic table. He had it on the massage table. Yeah.
So all these,
and it's like going to a yoga class. You ever do downward dog in a yoga class, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh.
Not in the yoga class.
Not in the yoga class. Yeah, you try not to pass the gas there.
Right, but it's
you gotta sometimes.
It's
gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, yeah, and there's no shame in passing gas, especially if you're doing yourself some good. And the other thing, that the toxins that are stored in the tissues is unbelievable. And shedding the body of those, if you're pooping 3 times a day and you think you're still not storing toxins in your body, you may be mistaken.
You are. I'll tell you right now, as a veteran colon hydrotherapist, you are grossly mistaken. Because even to this day, when I'm self-treating, I'm just amazed. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? What? And so sometimes the gases are not from poor combinations of foods. I want to echo you there because gas is, we have a certain amount of gas that just happens from, metabolic waste. However, emotional disposition, experiences, holding on to thoughts and emotions and feelings and not being in full expression can also create gas in the body because it creates a holding, a resistance, a tightening. And so sometimes the gas we have is because we're not feeling right. We're angry, we are upset, we are sad, we're despondent. All those kinds of things can create negative responses.
And the number one cause of high blood sugars for most people is stress. So it attacks, that stress attacks your digestive system, your immune system. And that's why I celebrate my brain fog. It helps me from being stressed.
It's like it has its own birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, Joyce. What steps can we take to secure our health and well-being for the future?
I just thought they could come up with a national brain fog day. Okay. So for moving forward, what you want to do is, take one thing that I shared today and implement it. Maybe it's the fruit concept. Start with one thing and go to the show notes. What I've done is I've put a direct link to one of the awesome freebies that's on my website. Detox@joycerockwood.com is how you email me. My website is joycerockwood.com, and there's a freebie section on the menu. So you can find it right down below. We put it there conveniently for you. There's some other freebies there for you too if you want to check them out. I've put a direct link for you in the show notes for the food combining chart. Voila! Wow. The Rinse Princess is here to support you. And it's a really simple chart to follow. If you have any questions, once you get you'll get it emailed right to your inbox. You'll have a direct link to me. You can always message me and ask me any questions. Let me know how it's going. I'd love to know. And get the journey started with just one step.
Okay.
Also, real quickly, I'm really excited because I am developing an online course that is going to give you a full experience of diving deeper into the step-by-step process that I take my clients through now privately. This is going to be a larger offering for the masses. And so just stay tuned. I'm just seeding you for this. Just stay tuned for more information on that. But I am creating an online course to assist you in creating the most astounding physical and emotional well-being of your life so that you can step right into the 21st century. Sorry, little Seinfeld there. All right, no, but seriously, I'm very passionate about supporting you. So no matter where no matter where you are in your process, if you've never had a green juice, if you're juicing all day long, sometimes people come to me because they are doing a lot right already, but they really want to learn more and secure their health for the future. So just know, don't be timid. Don't hold off. Just reach out, get the food chart, and let's get started on your journey.
Wow. Hey, Joyce, thank you. This has been enlightening once again. And people should take advantage of that course. Even I've learned a lot. Even despite my brain fog, I've actually learned a lot from you, and I continue to learn from you. All right, everybody. This has been Just In Case and Joyce Rockwood sharing food combining and why it's necessary. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts, additional information, and links are provided in this video's read more. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected, and please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn a few healthy suggestions on how not to go bananas despite the initial giggles in this presentation. Goodbye, everybody.